Hello, my name is Cesar Padilla.
I'm Michelle Ruiz,
I'm Jose Sanchez.
and we're the TempleRunners. Our instructions button will display the instructions for our game, and then when you hit play now, it'll take you to the game screen. The way that this game is played, we have two players, player 1, player 2. Player 1 will start off by drawing the first card, and then player 2 will hit draw card 1, and then player 1 will go again, draw their second card, and player 2 will then hit their second card. Now, we're going to sum the values of our cards by hitting that button. That button will determine which player wins and assign a point to that player. And the way that this game works is the player who accumulates 5 points first will then win the game. At the end of each round, the refresh button will be hit to flip the cards back over. In the case where both players have the same sum of their values, so player 1 has a sum of 17 and player 2 also has a sum of 17, when we press sum values, we will enter sudden death. Now here, we will again display 4 cards, and the sum will also be taken for each player. The player with the highest sum will then get a point. However, if these cards and their values remain to be equal, then it is game over and the game is over. So for my part of the project, one of my tasks was to be in charge of the instructions and the messages displayed throughout the game. So the way that I displayed my instructions from the button that you guys previously saw was by creating a menu, and that menu had three options, which were general rules, value of cards, and sudden death. That all of it explained the rules. I wrote them as a switch case and then a message, and I included a message box to display the messages. Another one of my tasks was creating the GUI and setting it up. So what I first did was I inserted the images, and I included buttons that would code for the draw card, sudden death. I also added some value that would add up the values of the cards, and in the home icon button we displayed the instructions, in the information button we displayed the instructions. In the home button, that would take us back to the start screen. The music icon is for the music that I also helped add, which I also added the sound. And if we press it again, it will turn off, and then when we draw a card, you will hear the click sound, as well as if we press this reset button, it will flip it over and you will hear that sound again.
So for my part of the project, I was in charge of creating a random permutation of the shuffle deck, which I named this M script, and I called back within every single identification of each card. So it's labeled here for card 3, here for card 1, and so on for every single card. The editware mfile script is right here. So this is where the global deck and global card are assigned. This is a shuffle deck, and it just basically displays a random card for every single deck of each player. So 1 deck, 2 deck, 3 deck, 4 deck, and just random permutations of each of the 13 by 13 arrays. So the second thing I was in charge of was the switch statements for every single action of the game. So let's say players first round cards were less than or equal to player 2's cards. It will be an output like player 2 wins or player 1 wins, and it'll increment the score. That's it.
So for my part, I did the global characters, the global variables, and the callbacks. As you can see here, player 1A, deck 1 through 13, was designated for draw card 1 button, which is 13 cards in that button when you press it, and so on and so forth. So the second deck, third deck and the fourth deck. And then you have more decks, which are the sudden death decks. Then we have globals for card 1s, card 2, and card 3, which are the variables that we will be using throughout the equation. I also provided Cesar with the global variables for him to use within the if statements and the switch statements, which made it easier for him to access, because we ran into a problem earlier where we didn't have any globals, and I suggested to use global variables so we can use them throughout the code, and it worked. And I am also in charge of the YouTube editing.